What's good, Creative Fam? Brandon Washington here, and I feel weird about this episode. I feel weird today because if you guys were here last week, you would have heard us talk a lot about Canon. You would have heard us talk a lot about Canon and a lot of our excitement about what was going on. But yeah, we're in a different week now. We are in a different week now. And I know you guys are excited because I've got my good friend and co-host, Jarrell. What's up, bro?
How you doing, Brandon? Man, chat.
No. How are you doing, Jarrell?
You know, I'm hopeful, but a little disappointed.
Are you a little?
Just a little.
Look, guys, we got a crazy show for you guys today. So much camera news came out, but at the same time, it feels like no camera news.
No camera news came out. What you already knew.
Now you know.
Came out.
Dude, we got so much to talk about. But let us know in the chat how you guys feeling about the new Canon news or the lack thereof Canon news. We're going to jump into that. Also, we had some other cameras that got announced this week, which was pretty awesome.
Little Fuji.
Yeah, a little Fuji action.
Yeah.
Sony, finally, we talked last week. We're like, hey, Sony, where you at? They showed up.
Yep.
In a way that nobody was expecting, nor do I think anybody will appreciate. And then, you know, we also got a little bit of lens news coming out. So, yeah. It's been a week.
Yes.
It has been a week.
Well, let's jump into the R1.
Oh, are you ready?
Let's jump into it.
Are you ready, though?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I feel like people are...
Thankfully, this is what happened, all right?
Let's paint the story for people.
I woke up
okay,
so excited, like it was going to be Christmas morning.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be May 15th. It's supposed to be R1 announcement day.
That's the day.
And then our good friend Travis sent us a video from Peter McKinnon.
Yes.
And honestly, I wasn't even in the mood to watch a video.
Right.
I just wanted to know what is it?
Yeah.
And then Brandon, you can take it from there.
Canon basically said, we would like to announce the R1. It exists. And it has autofocus.
And the funny thing is it's like, bro, did we not know that?
Bro,
was that a not known thing?
Look, I think a lot of people were a little shocked by the lack thereof information that we got from Canon. But here's the thing for me. Like, we all knew that the R1 was coming, but technically Canon had never... I mean, I guess they did say that when the R3 came out. So we already knew...
This was not the flagship.
This was not the flagship. Yeah. But we knew it was coming, but Canon had never said it. Mm-hmm. But I think Canon shooters and fanboys and people who just love gear like this, they were so excited about the possibility of this camera officially being announced and getting actual specs and seeing, like, what does a Canon flagship look like, that when we got this news... I feel like a lot of people were a little upset.
A little upset, but I will say somebody saved the day. Some employee that probably got fired.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Saved the day.
Okay, so I got to pull up my phone for this one because I got to give a shout out to somebody. Because I was over on Instagram, right? I was doing my, just normal everyday stuff. Christopher Berry. So he DMs me on Instagram and he goes, have you seen the R1? And of course, at this point, I've already posted a reel. I'm like, yeah, of course I've seen the R1. And he's like, no, did you see that Adorama accidentally published the webpage? Dude, somebody out there got fired for sure. Like, somebody at Adorama
who hit publish.
Yes, like who hit publish instead of save on the Squarespace website.
So shout outs to you. You probably don't have a job, and that actually does suck. So
that does suck. I feel bad for that person.
We are not celebrating your loss, but we are thankful that
we got a little something. So so I actually got a chance to not only, like, before the website got taken down, because if you go to Adorama's website now, it's gone. They've They figured it out. It's gone. But before then, I hopped on there real quick and just started taking some screenshots. And sadly, there still wasn't a whole lot to show.
More than Canon's announcement.
For sure. And so, like, here's my thought. By the way, my son's in the chat. What's up, Jensen? I see you, bud. But while we don't really know too much, here is what we did get from Adorama. So they did say that it will have high-speed autofocus and exposure enhanced by AI recognition. Now, this is something that I think we talked about early on in the year. I am convinced that AI will be jumping into cameras, like, basically for the foreseeable future. Sony started it off with their AI autofocus with the ZVE1. And now Canon saying that they will have some type of AI integration. I think that's absolutely
What do you
normal.
think this is? Do you think that this is like a HDR 2.0?
So here's my only problem. The way that it looked like Sony implemented it was just that, like, the AI could automatically make smarter changes based off of what the camera is seeing. But I feel like that's a very auto feature. Like, even inside of the ZVE1 on Sony's camera, you could only utilize a lot of those features when shooting in auto, which most professionals are not going to do. So for me, that's a little weird to see that in an R1, which is definitely more so catered towards professionals, right? But now let's take a look at some of the other features. They say that moving objects trajectory prediction. So this is where I think the AI autofocus stuff is going to come into play, where it's going to know sort of like who you're trying to focus on and be able to follow them through a scene.
Now, the R3 kind of does this on a lesser extent. Like, I've heard, like, in weddings, you can take a picture of someone and you can kind of log them in a directory. Is that right, Brandon?
Yeah. So,
and then it will know that, like, if you take a picture of the bride and then you log her profile in, if it sees the bride in the photo, it will autofocus to that person.
You can set priority based off of an actual face is basically the idea, which I think is a good idea. So just kind of like, you know, just something that's nice to have. And if the autofocus can sort of do that, I think that's going to help out a lot.
That's cool.
So we have that feature. Also, first time actually hearing this, 30 megapixels, full frame stacked dual gain sensor. So this is something that we also had on the R3. We had a stacked sensor, which helps a lot with rolling shutter, but also allows you to have a lot of benefits. But 30 megapixels, is that what you were expecting on this camera?
Yes, only because of the sports element. This is for Olympics. This is for NFL, NBA.
Okay.
Like, and this is going to reveal my cards a little bit. This was not the camera that I was looking to buy.
Okay, so I have to ask you this. I know that this is not the camera you were looking to buy, and you talk about sports, but like we already have an R3. Why do we need, like, why are we not just getting an R3 Mark II, or did they just want to use the number one for marketing?
So here's the deal. It has been 4 years, January 2020, since they have released a flagship model.
What does that
mean? What do you mean? The 1DX Mark III.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. It's been 4 years. So here's the deal. The question that you just raised, the reality is this better be hot fire.
Well, hopefully it's not too hot fire.
It better be hot. It better be so. It's got to dust the R3. It's got to not only beat the Sony A1, but it's also got to beat the Nikon Z9.
Okay.
And not just those, but their Gen 2s, because obviously at some point in time, the Z9 2 is coming out.
Yep.
And the Sony Alpha 1's coming out. And so it's got to be, the reason why they came with the R1 is because it has to be, if they want it to be successful, the king of the mountain.
Well, here's another crazy spec that I saw on here. Up to 120 frames per second, full featured continuous shooting. So here's the thing about full featured. On the R3, it can shoot up to 120 frames per second photos, but it can only do 50 photos bursts, and you lose autofocus.
Yes.
So when I saw this on the site and it says full featured, I'm like, okay, what do you mean full featured? Because you've given us some crazy high frame rate photography in the past, but then you like neuter it. So again, you're right in the sport of, I believe this is a photography for sports type camera, and we will definitely probably see it at the Olympics. But like, I hope they're not neutering this camera in any way.
You can't. You can't. It's the flagship. It's got to be the best that you got. And if it can do that, do all of the processing at the highest of burst, then that's what people would want.
I believe so.
If they can make good on their claim.
If they can make good on the claim and that the camera doesn't overheat in the process. That's the big one for me.
Yeah. Or what is it? Like it can burst for 0.3 seconds.
0.3 seconds. Exactly.
We need a little bit longer. We need I don't know. Like, I'm not an Olympic photographer, but I would imagine I would like at least a 2 to 3 second burst.
At least something.
Something.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me no, like, less than a second burst.
Or it's like it bursts, but then it takes 5 seconds to write to the card. So
Yeah,
like you miss the next moment.
Yeah.
That could be rough.
Yeah.
Now, the last one, and this is something obviously for me because I'm a big filmmaker, but video resolution, all we got from the video side of this from Adorama was that it's supposed to shoot 4K 120 frames per second.
Which seems a little underwhelming.
Right.
Because doesn't the Sony A7S III do 4K 120?
Yeah, so does the R3.
From like 5 years ago?
Does the R3
4
do
years
4K?
ago?
I think the R3 does 4K. Somebody fact check me in the comments.
Like that just, it feels dated.
So this is why the megapixel thing for me was so shocking. 30 megapixels, that makes sense. Like you're not going to be able to pull 8K out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was like, even though this is supposed to be a photography camera, I just was expecting higher megapixels to at least get us to that 8K video.
Yeah.
But then because it's the R1, it's supposed to dust the world, that you still get all those amazing photography sports features built into it.
Yeah. No, I would have, and I don't know, there's probably physics in this and people that are smarter. I would have assumed you were doing 4K 240.
4K 240, that could work.
I would have imagined like you would have pushed the bar further than in the video realm. But maybe they know. The people that are buying this, they ain't shooting no video.
Yeah. Travis says the R3 and R5 already do 4K 120.
Yeah.
And then he said maybe it could have done 6K 120. I could have taken, like at 30 megapixels, yeah, you could have definitely done 6K.
But I imagine, and maybe the Olympic photographer is changing. I just imagine, bro, they're there for a purpose.
Yeah.
And that purpose is probably not video.
Yeah, maybe.
Which leads us
oh gosh,
to maybe a second announcement.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Before we get into your second announcement, let's go to the comment section. Let's see what other people are thinking. While you do pull up some comments, I want to see what other people are thinking, because sometimes we get on here and we think that, you know, we're kind of on the right page, but I like to get a pulse from the audience to see, are they agreeing with us?
Kind of a hot take.
Okay.
The fact that it's taken them so long for this R1, I'm more excited for the Z9 II and the A1 II. Hero shots. You just gotta wait. You just gotta hold on to hope. Hold on to hope.
Look, I think what he's saying is something that Canon will have to deal with. Like, this is Canon's first flagship mirrorless camera, which is kind of nuts to think that like a company as established as Canon, who has had flagship DSLRs, but this is mirrorless. So this is throwing everything at the wall. Sony has had their oops moment with their flagship mirrorless camera with the original A1. You know what I mean? And even now Nikon, although I think the Z9 is phenomenal as far as like a flagship camera, it's heavy, it's bulky, and like they even were able to already like make it a little bit better with the Z8, and so I think they're going to learn some things from that. Both of these camera manufacturers have already come to the market, brought a flagship to the people, and the people were able to say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, fix this, fix this. Canon hasn't done that, and we know Canon's slow. So I think to Hero Shot's point, this R1 is going to come out and it will have things that people want to see changed, but every Canon fanboy knows you're going to be waiting another 6 years before you see an R1 Mark II.
this is going to sound like fanboy, and it's even going to sound like I'm aligned with Canon, but I was actually listening to Alex Hormozy.
Okay.
And he's dope, really dope. A lot of good business stuff. But I think the one thing that Canon probably did right that irritates the users the most is you had to start with the RP. You had to start with the R. You had to start with cameras that people would buy and then make the money, do the development, gain the feedback, realize what people really want in a mirrorless, then make the flagship. Now, I would have wanted the flagship way earlier than the 4 years. I think they could have done it, but I'm going to give them a COVID pass.
No, I'm not giving them a COVID pass. I'm not going to give them a COVID pass because I'm going to tell you why I think we're not seeing their inability to work. What we are seeing is the original poor decisions of Canon. And don't get me wrong, I like some Canon cameras.
What poor decisions? Which ones?
They did not jump into mirrorless soon enough.
Yeah. Poor decision. Fact.
So I believe we are seeing at the flagship level, there's a reason why they're so late to the party because they were so late to begin with that we're still seeing the fact that they were 4 years late than they should have been to mirrorless. And we're seeing the ramifications of that right now. And so it's a trickle effect where you can kind of forget it when you get an R5 and an R6, but and then you get R6 Mark II, and yes, you got RPs and they've been doing mirrorless for a while, but no, they're still 6 years behind.
Yeah.
Because they were so late to the party.
Well. We can stop saying behind and we can start saying they're like Apple.
No.
When they come onto the scene, they have revolutionized whatever they've come on the scene with.
You can't say that. I'm going to tell you
That's what Apple does.
No, because Apple doesn't say, hey, we're making an iPhone and it will be a phone. Because that's what Canon did to us. They said, hey, we're making a camera and it will be a camera. But thank you to whoever our Adorama secret admirer is out there who gave us some inside scoops, because without you, it would not have been possible.
I'm still looking at the comments, just trying to see what the people have to say. Let the pro still cameras be still cameras. There will be another hybrid for video centric. There will be, Anthony, and we're going to talk about that in just a second.
I'm sorry. If you're the flagship, bro, be the flagship.
Be the flagship.
Be the flagship. I disagree with that.
AJ says, I'm exhausted with a camera model race that's been going on for years now. They spoon-fed us features years after years just to keep us selling more bodies. That probably ain't true. We can think of a few brands that made almost zero changes, use same sensors.
You said that isn't true, or that is true?
No, that is true.
Okay, that is true.
There's a few brands that put it in a new body, kept the same sensor, and kept it moving.
I'll say the brand, Sony. We got an FX3 and an A7S3. Make it make sense.
Yes.
Make it make sense.
Definitely not for videographers. There are way better options for video, even from Canon.
No, let me make it very clear. I 100% know that the R1 is a photographer's camera. I'm just saying, today,
if you're gonna, because what do you think it's gonna cost?
Well, the R3 is was 55 brand new. I think the price has come down.
What do you think the R1's gonna cost?
I think the R1's gonna be 75.
I was gonna say 7. For 7 or 75, it better be the best camera that you have to offer.
Because here's my philosophy around a flagship. I don't just want the flagship to be good because of its actual use case. I believe that the flagship is supposed to set the tone of the direction of the company. So whatever goes into the flagship is what typically trickles down into the other cameras, right? And so here's my thing. The reason why I want to see the R1 be great for video and be great for photography and really push the boundaries is because that gives us an idea of where the R6 is going to go, where the R5, well, I guess they're going to come out kind of at the same time. So we'll have an idea where the R5 will be and where these more affordable cameras really end up going, because that's typically what we see unless it's Sony, because then Sony just says our next camera is our best camera and it doesn't matter if it's for professionals or not.
Absolutely.
So I that's just the reason why I want to see Canon push the boundaries. But I 100% agree with the chat. This is a photographer's camera, and they should focus on the photography stuff. That said, I still want to see them. I want to see them push it because it also will make Sony and Nikon and everybody else a little bit nervous and make them have to come with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I remember the moment when people wanted flagships. Like I remember when Peter McKinnon bought the 1DX and started shooting that 4K 1080p
4K
120. Yeah, everybody like wanted flagships now. So like I do feel like it shifted the landscape of who's gonna buy the flagship, because I had a 1DX Mark II.
Yeah,
was I shooting Olympics? No. But it had video features then.
But back then it was that camera that was like, oh, if I'm not sure what I'm gonna shoot and I just want the best that Canon has to offer for photography and for video, just go towards the flagship. Which
we've been teasing.
Hold on one second, because I gotta say something about Peter McKinnon.
Oh, okay.
I gotta say something about Peter McKinnon. I don't know. Let me know in the chat.
I'm gonna sip on the Red Bull while he
because I got a hot take about the Peter McKinnon video, because I watched it too, because that's when I thought it was real. When I saw Peter made a video about the R1,
I was expecting in the hands.
I was expecting an amazing video from Peter about this. But did you watch this video?
Like 2 minutes.
Bro, I got slight undertones.
No disrespect. Just I wanted to know more about the R1.
No. I this is going to sound disrespectful. I'm going to say it right now. This is definitely going to sound disrespectful. When I watched Peter's video, I got hints of frustration, bro.
Oh.
For the first time.
His relationship with Canon?
Like this camera, like even he felt a little like this camera better come with it.
Oh yeah.
Like
it wasn't one of those positive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
videos,
a lot of times when Peter McKinnon releases a Canon video, I just take it like as a grain of salt. You know, it's a marketing video as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because he's an ambassador.
He's an ambassador, and we understand it. This video had me feeling like, yo, he's about ready to switch.
Yeah.
like he's looking around at all his friends. He's looking at Maddie and everybody else. And they're like, wait, y'all get a chance to shoot on Sony's? Y'all get a chance? Why this is my camera? I got a picture, bro. You released the R1. We're waiting for the 15th, and you give us a picture?
Double hot take. The bag is too bag. He ain't leaving.
I don't think he's got a lot of incentives probably. But I'm just saying, I'm watching it. I'm like, yo, homie's looking upset.
It would be interesting. Shoot him a DM and be like, hey, you good?
Is a picture enough?
Oh my gosh, this is going to be the thing that's clipped.
Yes.
This conversation is going to be what's clipped. If y'all don't know,
this is why Peter will probably never come on the show.
We have a second channel, and that's where all the clips go. All right.
Oh,
so
man.
Back to the things that this is what's so funny. I don't play the lotto very often, but when I do play the lotto, I think I like playing it more than I would like. Not obviously I would like to win it, but just the fact of playing it is like, oh, this is fun because I can hope for what's going to happen.
So you're saying the hope is worth more than the bag?
Well, it's not, but
okay, I was going to say,
but it is one of those things that there's just like, and chat, tell me if you ever done anything like this, like whenever you actually hear the announcement, there's a little bit of letdown because you're like, oh, maybe what I was hoping for didn't happen. But when it's not known, you can insert your own dreams or your own wishes, because you don't know.
I see
so this is the new.
The anticipation is a lot of fun.
This is the new crack hit. All right.
Okay.
End of the month. Supposedly, another person, probably getting fired, put an event on Canon's calendar, saying that there's going to be a Canon event. Now, this was from like a different country. And so people were like really confused. Like, why is like Canon Sweden, announcing a Canon event or whatever? And it's been pulled down. And so the rumor mill is that Canon is having a second announcement in May, at the end of May. Now, who knows if it's going to happen? But they are going to be announcing the camera that we all want to hear about.
Is this the one that you actually care about?
This is the one that I care about.
This is the one where you're ready to pull your wallet out.
Yes.
You're going to tell your wife to go in the other room. You're going to sit down in front of
We're just going to be quiet. We're not going to say, we're not going to talk about anything happening. She's going to be like, what is that? And I was just like, yeah, I've had this.
It's the same camera, man.
So if you haven't heard, the R5 Mark II, and here's the deal. I'm not about hype, but I've heard it's magical. That's all I'm going to say.
Look, I guess I can say this publicly because he commented on my page publicly. I was good friend Armando commented after my reel about my excitement or lack thereof about the R1, and he said, just wait until Cine Gear, which I imagine that means Canon will not flop again like they did at NAB.
Sir.
I'm riding your hope wave.
Okay.
I'm riding your hope wave. I have hope right now because the Cine Gear hasn't come yet. But I have a hope wave right now that maybe, just maybe, Canon will be like, we didn't show up at NAB because we were saving everything to just dunk on you at Cine Gear. That's a hope wave.
That's a very... We didn't want to go to the big one. We wanted to have a more exclusive party. Sure.
It's easier. It can be easier. I don't know. Chat, let me know. What do y'all think?
I don't know. But the R5 Mark II, I don't have anything to tell you outside of the specifications that we've already leaked, or that were already said. But it seems like it is going to be the video camera.
Yeah, which is crazy to me because I feel like maybe the original R5, I don't feel like it was a huge video camera, but I think it got like smothered, pun intended, because it kept overheating.
Well, they almost seem like the original was supposed to be video.
That's
because
what I'm
they just
saying.
literally just came out like, it wasn't like, oh, look at this awesome photos. It's just like, we can do 8K.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like it was supposed to be a really good video camera, but it got that narrative got smothered because when you used it as a video camera like they intended it kept overheating.
Oh yeah.
And then because, and this is all theory here. So none of this is factual. This is Brandon's ludicrous theory. But because that it didn't do what it was supposed to do. It didn't become the video champion. They had all these parts for it and that weren't selling. And they said, okay, let's make an R5C, throw a
100%
cooler in there. So they took all these parts that were already done. They were like, let's just tweak it, put it into an R5C. Well, that will be the video thing. But then the battery life was so bad that they were like, screw it. We're going to an R5 Mark II. We're going to have to completely redo it. And this one might be the actual video winner. But hear me out. This is why Canon being 6 years late to the party is so frustrating because we already have had the Sony's overheating. We had the A7S Mark I that overheated, and the A7S II.
Does the R5C overheat?
Now? R5C? No, but it won't last long enough for you to film on it.
You won't. You can't find out.
Yeah, because the battery will die before it will actually overheat. So like that becomes like an actual problem. So like that's for me like why I'm like so frustrated about Canon being so late is because they haven't learned everything. Now, an R5 Mark II, probably let's say no C comes out. They figure out the overheating issue.
That's what I think that is a possibility because I've heard rumors that they might come out with R5C 2, but what if you just... The R5C did seem just like a reaction to the overheating. So if they fix and they just dropped a patent or they filed for a patent, basically saying they have a brand new heat dissipation deal that's super in the weeds. But if they figured out overheating and they figured out battery life, we might have a unofficial King of the Hill.
Okay. You know what? I will let you live in your hope wave.
What Sony camera are you excited about right now?
Oh, I'm not. No, definitely not. But to be fair, it takes a lot to get me excited about cameras these days because the truth is that like
I was thinking about other brands and I was like, what Panasonic are you excited about right now?
I knew you were about to throw every brand at me. Look, I think that Sony could crush right now. they've been quiet for too long.
Yeah.
And I think that they've been dropping, like they just redid the 24 to 70. They just redid the 16 to 35. They just redid the 70 to 200. They've been going on their lens game lately. I think Sony might have something that's going to have you like everything that we've
100,000 ISO?
Yes. Yes.
Use a light bulb.
Like, no. Like,
use a light bulb.
Think about it. The A7S3 and the FX3 came out long time ago, right? Since then, we've been getting crazy R1s, global shutters.
Yeah.
Like, these are things that have been getting dropped into other cameras. AI, like the ZVE1, the AI tracking, like the fact that it can like zoom in and track you and all that stuff. I think if we could get a A7S4 with 6K, so then when it zooms in and does the tracking thing, it can still give you 4K out. And it has all the AI features, and it has a global shutter, bro.
What?
And it shoots at ISO.
And it provides the clients for you.
Yes, it's got to give me a client button on it.
Hold on.
AI does it.
Hold on. Hot take. This may not age well. Sony swung for the fences with the A9 III, and I think that's for right now. It's his best shot.
No.
It's his best shot.
No, because that's
you can't have all of those things. You can't have all of those things at a price point for an A7S4.
You can when you sell $1.5 million ZVE ones that can offload.
Single soul shoot on that A9 III.
No, not now. But what I'm saying is the technology goes in that. They learn from that.
It hasn't been long enough.
A7S4.
It hasn't been long enough, and it hasn't been profitable enough. Unless Sony,
the part is already in the bid.
Otherwise.
They already have the global shutter's already in the bid.
It's in the bin.
If we know anything about Sony, they have no problem grabbing a part from one camera.
That is true.
And dropping it into another camera.
We were just talking about the Komodo and the Komodo X, and you were like trying to like win me on how expensive things are. I do not think that they can drop the global shutter with its problems and image quality loss into a cheaper body. But
those quality losses were primarily, if you watch Jared Undone's video, he talked about them mostly in photography. You throw that into a video-focused camera like an FX3 or an A7S III.
12 megapixels.
They're going to bump the pixels up so that way it can get to 6K. Dude, I'm telling you, that's my guess.
It's a hot take, but I think Sony swung for the fences, and in maybe 2 years, 3 years, like whatever, like I don't know how long, they will come out with something dope.
Bro.
Doper than the R5 Mark II. But the R5 right now is still just the R5. Take because they overheat too. Sony overheats too. Take overheating off the deal. The R5 Mark I is still a more than capable dope camera.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
You could put the R5 up against almost any camera. What camera? What are we not putting it up against?
Go.
No.
Go.
Give me a camera. Give me a camera that it doesn't compare with.
Price for
mirrorless. Yeah.
Z8.
What does it do? What does Z8 do?
It's got ProRes RAW. It's got ProRes internal. It's got 8K.
Yeah, but Canon ain't never had that stuff.
That's not, you can't crop out Canon because it can't do it.
No, I'm just saying, if you want to do that, get yourself a little Atomos.
Oh my God. Who wants to walk around with an Atomos?
Nobody. Then shoot in non-ProRes.
No, but see, that's the thing. You have the option. You have RAW internal
that
on
client
the Z8.
ain't never asking for no ProRes.
No, it's not for them. It's for your workflow, bro. You're a Canon fanboy and you're a hater.
I am not a hater. I'm not a hater. The Z8 is perfectly great.
It is a great
I'm not
camera.
saying, but I'm saying it doesn't compare. The R5 doesn't compare with the Z8.
It compares, but it's not as good. You could compare the R5 with a Raptor. You say, oh, they both shoot 8K. That don't mean they're actually the same camera. Get out of here.
Image quality. That's the only thing I care about.
Okay. Chat, settle this for us, please. I think he's a Canon fanboy. He's a plant. Canon got you over the week.
Let's be clear.
Are you getting a secret Canon bag you're not telling me about?
Let's be clear. If you want to bring me into the family,
oh my gosh,
I will gladly I will gladly come.
Jarrell's opinion is purchasable.
It is purchasable.
Just, dude, get out of here. All right, I need to move off of this Canon stuff because you're driving me nuts.
Fuji dropped a camera.
Oh, did I tell you what I thought about that camera?
Brandon, what did you think about the Fuji GFX 100 something Mark II?
You hear that? We do not care. Look,
Oh my
I
gosh.
appreciate that it is probably a super dope camera and it's got a beautiful image. I don't care. I don't care. That's going to be a very
Fuji has left the chat.
unpopular opinion.
Do we have any Fuji shooters? And
Marcus,
if you
is
would
Marcus
like to convince us, actually, I think the images, looking at some of the thing, it does look really cool. I feel like what you might be hearing from us is we're not invested in that ecosystem.
That's it.
So trying to literally care about something that you would have to spend thousands of dollars just to even see an image.
But in the process, lose thousands. Because if you switch systems, I mean, that's the biggest problem. I think that's what kills most people from like looking or jumping or really appreciating other cameras. Is like for you, you're a Canon fanboy, right? So
I would like you to drop.
Let me finish.
I'm a Canon professional.
I thought last week you said you weren't a pro because your cameras aren't pro.
I said the camera was not pro.
Yeah, whatever. I do not care about that statement. No, I think that because it's so expensive to jump systems at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Like for me, it's not that the Fuji cameras are not good, that medium format doesn't have its benefits. Like I've seen the images. They look great. It's just to get into that system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Nikon only had the Z9, right? Like when Nikon had the Z9, I reviewed it on my channel. I told Nikon, even talked to them personally and was like, look, fantastic camera. I cannot care about your system when this is what you have for me right now. The problem, and like Nikon actually like acknowledged that, came out with the Z8, then it came out with the ZF, which was kind of a weird misstep. But like, I feel like when it comes to Fuji, I can't really get excited about their other cameras. So this new flagship, as amazing as it is, and probably like the images are untouchable, like if I even want to play around with it, like I got to get new lenses and I got to get the body, and it just became so much for me. And apparently Carlos agrees. Carlos came in with a super chat.
Sucks for video.
Bro, like that's... Look, okay, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know anything about this, but when somebody is willing to pay $10 to make sure that we know that the GFX 100S sucks for video, that might be a true statement. I don't know. I'm not gonna claim it. Look, I'm not gonna claim that I said it.
Yeah.
But if it's worth $10 to share your opinion,
now I got to be honest with you, Fuji. You want to send it out? You want to change my mind? No, I'm not saying to keep. I'm not saying I can be bought. I'm just saying if you want to send it out so we can see it and we can test it. But at this point, it's tough because it's like we were talking about this before the live stream. What would it take, Brandon, to jump ship?
Oh,
What would it take?
I'm in too deep right now.
So there's nothing.
I mean, I would need somebody to buy me out at MSRP from the original date that the camera came out.
Here's the receipts.
Right. Like, take my receipts and give me back that amount.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem about buying cameras. Why I think, people who do look at buying cameras, even us, like, we do so much research because you understand, once you buy that camera, it's like driving it off the lot. It immediately loses value the second you purchase it. On top of that, if you then go to sell it, you're losing money. And then when you go to buy the new thing, you got to buy that at the MSRP. So it just becomes kind of tough. It looks like Carlos says you can borrow his. He says he's got one for you. He's got one you can borrow.
I'm going to send you my address.
we'll have that shipped out. But no, like it's wild that's kind of the state that we're in. But again,
Carlos, tell me, just in the chat, what are some things that you love about it from the stills perspective, since you don't think on the video? Because I see the images.
Now that is key. I do think that like the medium format photography side of it, I do wish, like I do want to shoot medium format photography. It's just all medium format cameras are just so pricey typically.
Yeah.
That like it's a tough game to get into.
I had a Mamiya for a little bit with film.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, no, I have my Mamiya up there and I love it.
But it's like, it was like $40-$50 to develop a roll.
That's a bit much.
And it's like, ooh. So anyways, I've heard the R5 Mark II match. Now here's the deal. I will hold Canon to it. I'm not going to say it's magical if it's not magical. But if it is magical, they will have my money.
Look, I believe that I can be open-minded enough to say that if it does sound like it, if it shows up magical, I will say that it's magical.
Yeah.
But there'll be a huge caveat until I use it, because I got to know if it overheats.
So here's the interesting part, and this is where I feel like I'm not a fanboy. Well, I kind of am, but I would say right now, I can't say a single Canon camera that's magical. That's how I feel like I am not a completely biased person. I'm not over here singing the praises of any Canon camera saying it's I can't think of it. Can you think of a single one that's magical? That's a high bar.
A Canon camera?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
When I think about magical, I got to be honest. I go into the $50,000-$60,000 range.
Yes.
Like when I hear the term magical, I want to see this. And I saw this in a Potato Jet video when I think he was taking like an Ari and he was like shooting inside the car and the outside was exposed too. And I was like, that's magical.
That's magical.
And the new Raptor X?
Yes, I was going to say.
With the extended highlights?
That's magical.
I will say magical.
That was the first time I looked at a camera. By the way, thank you. Is it Anthony? Anthony Rock, who gave us a super chat. Just appreciate the love. But like, I will say that the first time I looked at a camera and was like, wow. My mind was blown was the Raptor X, because not only that did it have the extended highlights, but it was something you could turn on and post, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of their deal, though. That whole change the ISO in post, change the white balance in post. Like
Red is one of the few brands that's why I keep rocking with them, that they actually changed my mind. Chat, I want to know.
You can actually fix it in post.
Yeah. Chat, let me know what was something, a camera brand, a camera feature, a camera itself. What was something that you saw that was magical? I'll tell you something that was not magical.
You know what's so funny about that? That was going to be the exact words out of my mouth.
I'll tell you something that was not magical. We've been giving Sony some praise. But you know what was not magical? Hearing over the week that Sony has a new firmware update to give you customizable guidelines. But they want to charge people $150 for it.
You know what this reminds me of? Was it BMW?
Yes, the Mercedes?
Mercedes?
That was one of them.
Wanted to charge you monthly for heated seats.
Yes.
On a subscription model.
The coils are in the car.
Sony,
you own the car.
Hear us plainly. This feature is stupid.
Look, I think I understand, like, when you get into like the world of cinema, buying licenses to add features to your camera makes sense. Like, for example, you can buy an Ari, and then when they came out with the Ari Raw, because there's a license, because Ari actually had to pay Red a certain feature or a certain amount of money because of the patent or whatever in order to use Raw. Like, there's a price for that feature. Yeah. But I'm sorry, customizable guidelines, bro, I will take a dry erase marker and write on my screen before I pay you $150. Like, Like, this is the kind of stuff that when, like, camera brands, like, they're like, you're like, yeah, I'm rocking with you. Sony, you doing dope stuff. And then they're like, step to the left. You're like, what you doing over there? Get over here. Like,
the reason why we're talking about this on this show right now is because we have to rise up or these camera brands will go left.
Oh, like if we don't, it's going to be like, what was it? Wendy's or whatever. That was
surge pricing.
Surge pricing. Like, oh yeah, your burger cost $3, but we're busy. So now it's $10. Like, get out of here. Like, we have to push back against this kind of stuff and voice our opinions. And of course, you know, this show is the uncensored show. So we always give our uncensored opinions.
100.
But like, dude, $150 for that. And like, I'm sure they're like, oh, well, there's also some other little get out of here.
If for $150, like to me personally, and I know everybody's value proposition is different, it better include RAW. It better include ProRes
RAW.
Yeah, it better have released like, and it probably already has this stuff, but it better release like waveforms and false colors. It better not just have some new grid lines on it.
Yeah, no.
Like, we're good.
No, I need a full update. And like, look, I know I'm going into the chat right now because some people are like, this can't be true. No, this is a true statement.
Yes.
This is a true statement.
It is.
This is exactly
until we make it untrue.
Yes.
And they pull it back.
Yes, they need to pull it back and they need to say sorry and just give us our guidelines.
Yes.
Or don't even give us feed. Honestly, I don't really need custom guidelines. Just give me the guidelines in the camera.
Yeah. Now, like say if you want to put something in there of high value, go for it and then charge. But like, don't like, this should be, I wouldn't even be okay if this was a $10 firmware upgrade, because ultimately at the end of the day, don't charge us for something small improvements to your camera, but at least price it correctly. $150. So what? We can shoot better Instagram reels? Like, what? Instagram is free. What are we talking about?
Like, that's my problem. Look, I appreciate this show because we can tell people the truth. And that's just, you know, speaking of other, now this is something that I did think that was interesting. And I don't know how I feel about this because this is very new news. Mm-hmm. Sigma just announced a new zoom. Mm-hmm. And it is the weirdest zoom I've ever heard of.
Yes.
Well, actually, let me back up. Sigma didn't announce this. This is actually like a rumor.
A rumor.
This is a rumor that we know is basically true.
Verified.
It's a verified rumor.
Who verified it? We don't know. But we're just gonna put verified.
It's like the Meta verified. You can pay for it and get a check. But Sigma is supposed to be announcing a 28 to 45 full frame zoom. But the kicker, because that's weird.
Yeah.
By itself. That's weird.
That's a weird focal
That's a very weird focal range. Yeah. But what makes it interesting is that it is a 1.8 aperture.
And if you know anything about zooms are expensive zooms are 2.8.
Yes.
Like expensive $2,000 zooms could only get down to 2.8. And it wasn't until Canon, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Canon, baby. Canon with the 24 to 105 and the 28 to 70.
Yes.
That just made it to 2.
Yeah, just got to 2.
Just got the 2.
Right.
Now Sigma had that APS-C.
It was, but that's
18
a
to 35.
That's a different type of lens. Like, so on crop cameras, yes, you can typically get like more wide open apertures.
Yeah.
Because literally the barrel of the lens can be smaller because it's actually like it's a smaller sensor it has to cover.
We're in full prime territory now.
Yeah. So we're looking at basically a 35 millimeter prime that gives you enough range on one end, a little bit of range on the other, but like not enough to get to 24 and not enough to get to 50. So I don't know. It's a very weird lens. I'd love to know what you guys' thoughts are on this lens. I'm not incredibly excited about it.
If it's priced appropriately,
that
like
would make
under a 35 1.4.
So what would that be? Like less than $2,000? Like 14?
$800.
Oh, you want it for $800?
No, I'm not saying that's what it's worth, but I'm saying you can buy a 35 1.4 for $1,300.
From who?
From Canon.
Is it really that cheap? Is that? Oh, that's not
They're
the
prime.
L series.
They're prime. Yeah. No.
The L series.
The Airs, they haven't come out with their own RF one.
So Canon's
but the
behind.
EF.
Canon's behind. They haven't released.
They're in development.
They're in development. You Canon fanboys.
So the 35 1.4 EF chat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like all of their red ring lenses and the EFs were somewhere in that 1,000 to 1,500, 1,600. Now their RFs are more expensive now.
No.
The 35, yeah, because the 50 was 1,600.
Lenses?
Were 1,600 for the 50.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
The 72.
I'm not saying that you're wrong with the prices were then.
Yeah.
But bro,
The new RFs are
at that
expensive.
same time, I just want to give you a little bit of context. At that same time, you could pay $5 for a foot long, and now you're gonna get a 6-inch for $6.
Going to B&H.
So like, I feel like inflation's gonna jack those
Going
prices
to B&H. Yeah. Oh. Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah.
Version 2.
Tell the people what the prices are you're looking at.
All right. So I revised my price if dude, that's wild. That must be like a version 3. Giving that version 1.
Exactly.
Giving that Tamron pricing.
That's what I'm saying. These lenses are pricey.
So if it's $1,500, we ain't buying it.
I'm not buying it.
No, I'm not buying it.
But I believe that this lens will be really good for Panasonic shooters because it's going to probably have that L mount because Sigma's part of that L mount alliance stuff. And then you also have probably Sony. And so I think at 1.8, it's definitely an interesting lens.
If it was, what is their 18 to 35? I feel like
18 to 35, I think is like around $1,400. No, honestly, that was like 1,000, like just under 1,000.
That's what I'm saying. That's in my brain what I feel like. Yeah, that's true. But in my brain, what I feel like Sigma lenses are, no disrespect. No, bro, that's $669.
Yeah, but that's now. That lens is old.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it is, I've heard, especially for like crop sensor cameras.
The 18 to 35?
That is the...
Oh, yeah, it's a golden lens. If you shot that with like a Blackmagic Super 35 camera, that was it. Like I know Marcus used that setup a lot, and I loved how it looked. Like he would shoot some stuff for me with that same setup. It's a
If
golden
they
lens.
price it sub 1,000, that thing is going to rip.
I don't think it's going to rip. I think it's still too weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And I feel like you would have to do a lot of marketing being like, it's not a 50, it's not a 24, but it's for the people that need just a little on either side. I feel like it would rip if it's in the correct price point. But if it starts approaching a prime lens cost, what it costs? Nah, pass.
Well, I'm going to hit up in here because the chat is letting us know a couple things. So quick question. Do you guys don't like Tamron? Look, I have no problems with Tamron. It's just cheap. I feel like it's a great starter lens.
Yeah.
But like Tamron never really feels like they move the needle, and they're very Sony specific for a lot of stuff.
I'll give you my, it's not a hot take. I will give you my, like, I'll put myself out there on this. Like everybody does when they first start off, you get the nifty 50.
Yep.
$100, maybe 150 now. Or if you get the gray market one, definitely $100. And so you'll start off with, you know, maybe some of the cheapest primes of any brand. And then after a while, at least this is very true for me, you convince yourself that you need the top of whatever somebody offers. So if there is a 51.8 and there's a 51.2, you're convinced that you need that 51.2. So you go out and you get it, and then you never test never test the 1.8 versus the 1.2, because what you will find is it is really tough sledding trying to find the differences between the 1.8 and the 1.2.
Look, I can say that when I did pick up a Sony and I was shooting on that, the Tamron 24-70 was one that no, it wasn't 24-70. It was weird. It was like a 28-75 or something like that. That one was one that like I picked up, and that was because I wasn't ready to invest in the Sony ecosystem at the time. Because I mean, again, once you're in it, it's hard to get out.
Yeah.
I did then eventually upgrade that Tamron to the G Master 24-70. Currently, I own no Sony camera bodies. But I'm still stuck with that 24 to 70 lens that like I pretty much just loaned to a friend of mine who shoots Sony. And I was like, just hold it. I got no use for it.
Yeah.
Because again, you just get stuck.
Yeah.
But with the Tamron lenses or even with the Sigma lens that we were talking about, those are lenses that I feel like people can invest in. And then they can also sell fairly quickly. Cause like I sold the Tamron one fairly easily because it's in that price point where people are like, I want to get a good lens or I need that focal range, but I'm not quite ready to spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Now, this brings up a question that you actually asked me, and this is kind of the last little topic that I'd love to discuss today as we kind of talk a lot about gear. Like we've talked a lot about gear in this show. And I was on Threads, and Sony, of all people, Sony Alpha, commented, "Where do you get your camera news from?" Which I thought was a very smart play, you know, because they have a lot of followers naturally because all the Sony fans actually follow them for the news. And they were able to ask the people on Threads, where do they get their news from? And I was reading it naturally as somebody who creates content. So I'd love to know from you guys in the chat right now. Do me a huge favor. Even if you're somebody who typically doesn't engage in the chat, do me a huge favor. Hop in the chat and just answer the question, where do you get your camera news from? But they asked, where do you get your camera news from? So I went through reading it, and some of the answers I got were very interesting, but it made me start thinking, based off of some of the people's answers, that like people were kind of categorizing where they get their news. Like they were like, oh, if I want to just learn the features or see what the camera can do, then I'll go to YouTube. But then if I want to know like an actual breakdown of like how the camera works and get the detail, unanimously, Gerald Undone. But then it was like, if I want to buy the camera, then it became, I go to a trusted source. And it was like blogs, but not very many YouTubers, which made me wonder, can you trust YouTubers on gear reviews and gear videos? And like, where does that trust lie? So that was just like a huge topic that kind of came to my mind as someone who I kind of do a little bit of both. Like, I mean, I feel like we're very honest here on the Uncensored show because we'll praise a brand for one thing 1 second and then get on to them about another thing at another place. But I just really was like open to that question. And I know you don't make like gear videos. We talk about them here on the podcast.
Yeah.
But like, how do you feel like when it comes to like gear videos on YouTube and getting your information?
Yeah, no. So it's really been funny. Like to me, I've got a set of websites that I go to almost every day. I will go to F-Stoppers. I'll go to No Film School. I will go to Canon Rumors. I'll go to Sony Alpha Rumors. And I will visit those websites just to kind of keep a pulse on what's going on. I feel like, especially nowadays, things are coming out all the time. And so it's just kind of nice to get a good pulse. But the interesting part is when I'm on YouTube, I'm a little weary of YouTube. And I'm weary of YouTube, not because that everybody on YouTube, you know, puts out stuff, but I feel like sometimes there is this bias that happens on YouTube when it comes to gear.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like companies are paying YouTubers or paying them or giving them the gear to say good things about the products. And not knocking that, that's a cool thing. But I feel like whenever I want to know the stuff about the camera that would prevent me from buying it, YouTube isn't always the best place.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. And like, I mean, obviously, like I'm a creator too. And I've been literally on both sides of the aisle there. I think for me, even I like find myself like, cause like there's like gear that I'm excited about, but I do know that even myself, like if there's like a gear, a piece of gear or like a lens, typically it's lenses. Cause lenses is one of those things where it's hard, like specs don't help you with lenses. You just need to like see what was made. 9 times out of 10, when it comes to like things like lenses, I'm just looking at the images. but I also have to trust that the person who's using the gear knows what they're doing. Because I can be like, I think I've gone on record of saying this before, but like when the Komodo first came out, the OG Komodo first came out, I was really excited about it until I went to YouTube. And I saw a lot of people shooting with red for the first time, and they did not make that camera look good.
Yeah.
They made it look terrible. And it wasn't until my friend now, at the time I did not know him, but Joey Helms posted his videos and I saw his images. I was like, oh, you actually can get a good image out of this camera. And then you do more research on the other people who released videos on the KX and you realize, oh, I'm sorry, the Komodo, not KX, the original Komodo. You realize, oh, they've never actually used a red before. They don't know the tally light system. They don't know how to actually work this camera. And they don't know that like a cinema camera like this, especially with a global shutter, needs a lot of light. So like you learn these things. And so I believe that like, you know, there is a double layer to this where it's a matter of, can you trust them because you feel like either they were sponsored or the gear was given to them or they feel, you know, compelled to make a good review about a product
in hopes that they
maybe get another deal.
Yeah.
You know, but then I think there's a second layer of that as well, where it's like, does this creator actually know how to use this piece of gear and show it off in its right way? And like that for me is like when I see lens tests, it's like, okay, I need to make sure that somebody I trust is using this lens properly because is this this lens is soft or do you just not know how to full focus manually?
Or are you running it at its lowest aperture? Yeah, there's just so many different things because we all like inherently we know. Yeah. Like some lenses are sharp down to lower apertures, but most of them have a sweet spot.
Yes.
So I mean it is hard to know if you don't really know the proficiencies or capabilities of those creators. No, 100%.
Yeah, let's go into the chat because I really want to know what the chat has to say. And I think there's a lot of value in the chat right now around this topic because as somebody who wants to make the best videos on YouTube, I always want to just get this feedback and make sure that we are offering the best videos possible. So what do we got?
Yeah, too many sponsor reviews on YouTube's to trust. Now, I feel like I like you've reviewed stuff before, you know, like say you've been on both sides of the thing. I feel like you really have to find someone that you can trust to be able to say the right thing. I don't feel like YouTube as a whole, and I don't think that, you know, brands using YouTubers to review stuff is bad. But like say, like we were saying this with like Peter McKinnon,
yes.
Like it's like I know that you're an ambassador. I know you're not going to say anything bad about it. So for you, like you are a content creator and I admire his work. So I am going to get the flash,
yes,
or the wow from him, and then I'm going to do my research to find the overheating from someone else.
I feel like if you have if there's a YouTuber that you do trust, there has to be a way to calibrate yourself off of that YouTuber.
Yeah.
Like with Peter, one, I know whatever Canon camera that comes out, he'll be first, which is always helpful. But also like that kind of worked against me in the R1 because I thought he had. But then two, it's like I can calibrate. I know that he's an ambassador. I know he's going to say, so like if I want to see the best that this camera can offer, I know I can go to Peter and get the best that it can offer. And he's a skilled filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that he's going to give me good images out of it. And I'm not going to have to worry about that. But at the same time, I do believe that you have to be able to calibrate. And so that's just kind of the thing I want to look at. What did he says?
Camera news, mostly YouTube, and another YouTuber from Brandon, Jared Poland.
Yeah.
Frono's Photo.
Yep. Frono's Photo.
Dude, man, he has been rocking that fro.
For a long time.
For a long time.
Do you think he can shave it? Sorry, that's off topic.
Intrusive thought.
Intrusive thought just popped up. I'm just like, yo, what if he has to shave
And
it?
the answer is no.
No.
He can't. Yeah, CVP, dude.
They're one of my favorites.
They're solid.
They're one of my favorites.
Solid.
If you guys haven't checked out CVP, they like their video right now on the Raptor X has been in my like watch later for like the last 2 days because I want to. It's school. I feel like when I watch CVP videos, I'm going to school.
Educational.
So I'm like, I want to be able to make sure I can sit down and like give it my undivided attention.
This is another not really hot on YouTube.
That's all right.
Press releases. It's hard to trust. Oh man, that just came up. It's hard to trust the desire for YouTuber content creators to pander to manufacturers. There is some pandering that happens.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't trust 99% of what YouTubers for gear reviews. I watch YouTube gear channels such as this one for entertainment. Dude, that's dope.
That is dope.
We're glad that you watch.
I'm glad you enjoy the entertainment because 9 times out of 10, I'm not even really reviewing the cameras. I'm just like, hey, I got this camera. Let me show you what I did with it. And that's pretty much all I'm going to give you.
Dude, it sounds like this is a pretty consistent theme. YouTube for entertainment about cameras. Your live streams are the best for me to try. Always to be in live.
Oh. Well, dude, we appreciate it when you do show up live.
Yes.
Get a chance to be part of the conversation. At least that's what we try to do. We try to let people be a part of the conversation. But yeah, no, I feel like I'm glad we had this conversation. I mean, like this is the Uncensored show. And so I want that feedback and I think we should have that feedback. And I also want this like capsulated for other creators to take a look at because I think as creators on this platform, we owe it to the people who watch us or who come to us for advice on what to buy or whatnot to give them either honest opinions or as we call it, uncensored opinions. Play on word there. If you know, you know. But to give uncensored opinions where we can be truthful if we are recommending that someone buy what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that and you're just making educational, like behind the scenes, kind of like the stuff that we do where we just kind of like take you on the journey. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're using. Here's how we used it. Then be very clear that that's what the content is. And that's why, like, on my channel, for example, I've never done, like, a paid-for review. Like, no one has, like, you can't even pay me for a review.
Yeah.
You can pay, like, a sponsored product announcement video or, like, a highlight video or something where I'm just showing the features. But I also try to be very clear in those videos that that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's important that, like, people have that gauge. And so I just wanted to take a moment because I thought that was a really interesting question for Sony to ask. And it like triggered something in my brain. I was like, yeah, I wonder where do people kind of draw the line when it comes to like listening to YouTubers and getting that feedback? Because we all know when Sony does drop.
Because there's 15,000 people. Chat, look me in the face. I will never lead you astray. Always by Canon. No. I got to be honest with you, 100%. Like, I fully understand that Sony is incredible. Nikon is incredible. Red is incredible. And I mean that, like, genuinely. I sometimes will look at some Sony stuff and be like, dang, that looks pretty nice. I like that. And even the things that would have held me back maybe 4 or 5 years ago from going to Sony, I feel like they fixed those things. Like, I didn't really love their color science. Now it looks great. But all that to say is I'm not going to sell you on Canon because honestly, Canon just works for me. I have Canon lenses, I have Canon bodies. And so I will tell you if I like what they have, but if you have something else, I will tell you the same thing. There ain't nothing like they would have a camera from Mars would have to come down that was 20K with ultra compression, literally just perfect camera, 30 stops of dynamic range. It would have to be incredible to get me to switch at this point. We're $35,000 deep in Canon stuff. We ain't jumping ship now.
Well, chat, let us know, what are you guys most excited about now? I think it's been a great week. It has been a fantastic week. The news, I think, is only going to continue to get bigger and better. And I can't personally wait to see when Jarrell's Canon R5 II actually does show up.
Let's go.
I think I'm excited about it. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't too excited before, but I'm getting more and more excited. You got me getting more and more excited.
Yes.
Because I think magical is a very tough word. I'm on your hope wave now.
Hope.
I'm on your hope wave. All right, chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Uncensored. Do us a huge favor. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on your way out. Also, hit that thumbs up button. Let us know, let the algorithm know that you actually enjoy what we do here, because we're going to just kind of keep trying to do it. Make sure that we keep crushing it for you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Last words?
Peace.
Peace out.